Alright, here's the video review for Transformers Generations Leader Class Jetfire. And I've been excited about this for a while. I'd actually seen the picture that floated around before it became publicly floaty aroundy. And then, of course, they revealed this big guy at Toy Fair this year. Although, again, like when the original pictures, he didn't have the chrome on the super parts, armor pack, whatever you want to call it. I'm using Macross terminology there on the super parts. And they were just kind of a painted red plastic, and I would have preferred that. I think as I've said in several of my reviews, I'm not a huge fan of chrome, and I don't really feel like it adds anything to this aside from some shininess. And it doesn't look as bad as I thought in person, but still, I would have liked to have seen just a straight up figure versus the chromey, because it's going to flake. You just know it's going to. But he comes in the standard Generations packaging, as you may have seen in the intro. I'm not going to dwell too much on it. It's got a little bio on the back and whatever. You get the instruction sheet, just a paper instruction sheet, although it really isn't too difficult to transform him. So in jet mode, you've got all the armor here. You can see there's all the armor on the bottom half there. The false cockpit on the bottom, which becomes his chest cockpit, which I get what they were going for, because he has a very G1 toy alt mode and a very like cartoon Skyfire robot mode, and so they kind of did that on purpose, and it doesn't bother me that much. It kind of looks like maybe it's a weapons canopy or even like a sensor array or something on the bottom of the jet. It doesn't look super out of place. I'm not a real big fan of the way this gun attaches to the front. Thankfully, that you don't have to attach it there. Now, granted, if you don't put it there in jet mode with all the armor parts on, there's really no place else for it to go. I mean, you can kind of, if you want to, you can plug it into the side of one of these armor packs. Actually, no, you can't, because, no, maybe you can. It does raise it up a little bit, but I guess you could tuck it in there if you don't want it on the front, but then that makes it a little asymmetrical on the armor pack. So, whatever. Plus, you have to fold the fin down. I think technically that's the official way with the armor pack, or the super parts, whatever you want to call these things, with the jet pack here on him, just to fold the fins down. I usually like to fold them up a little bit on the sides, just to give it a little bit more of a jet with thrusters on it type of look. The cockpit does open, although there's not really any figures you're going to find that fit in there. Maybe the little scale figures from the Macross Valkyries, the renewal versions, and the Chogokin little pilots. They might fit in there. I'll have to check when I get home. I didn't think to do it earlier, but the cockpit does open, and it's got a couple of seats and all the cockpit controls, all molded in flat black plastic. There's no paint in there. So yeah, here's a quick look at him with the. This is actually the Henkei version, but the original Generations Classics Jetfire mold, just to give you a look there as to what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and pop all the armor parts off to show you what his plain jet mode looks like. Then we'll transform into robot mode, show that off, and then show off his fully armored form in robot mode. And the jet and the armor pack here, or the thrusters here, just pop right off. They clip in right here. It's the same style of clip that Henkei Jetfire has, the Classics Jetfire mold has, but these are much smaller, so you can't swap the packs on them. And then these just come right off. And you can see that underneath the chrome, it is just plain red plastic. I don't know if it's the best red plastic to match the figure. Some people have said they're going to attempt to strip the chrome, and I'm curious to see how that turns out, because it is red plastic underneath these pieces. At least on these. I'm not sure on the thrusters here. But I can't imagine they wouldn't do it the same all over. But anyway. And here's there's the plain jet mode, which again looks a lot like his old G1 unarmored form. Albeit slightly stylized from the past. So he's got the thrusters on the back. Just like that. So to get this guy to robot mode, it's really not like super difficult. You can kind of see the basic layout of parts here underneath the robot. If you want to flip up that landing gear, these wheels are already exposed. But you can see the arms and the legs and everything right here. So you start off, you pull this whole cockpit up, get that up out of the way, and you kind of have to go ahead and pull this down a little bit to get your finger under there, but these panels right here flip up. Just like that, and you kind of pop this whole assembly up and out. Be careful when you're doing it. Going back, sometimes I manage to get it on the first try, and sometimes it takes a little while, but you got to make sure it clips on. You can see how this whole thing clips onto the bottom of the leg pieces up here. There's a little gap. You just kind of pull this whole assembly up and out. Like I said, it helps if you treat it like you're just lifting it up. And it should pop out. Yeah, there we go. Just like that. And then fold these panels back flat like that and turn his head around. And then up here, the leg panels, you untab them from back here. They tab in right here under the fin. Right, just untab that, and you rotate this whole thing around like that. Lift this up a little bit here, and then bring these all the way down, and then rotate them at the hip joint like that, so their legs are facing forward. But you'll bring those all the way down to form his lower waist, and then this is, you can see that this is going to tab in right here. It's the first time this has popped off. All right, so and then the arms, while you're doing that, the arms up here, you split them. Again, they unpeg from the booster here, and then they unpeg from each other. There's a couple tabs right here you can see on the boosters that tab into some slots on the back of his thrusters. Bring these down, and then you can see there's some pegs on the wing here. So you fold the wings up like this, and you bring the arm down, and you peg it there into the wing. Like that. And this comes up. Give it a little bit of room. Snap it in, because there's a couple pegs on the inside of the arm here that are going to tab into this slot right here. And it's a little easier to get those all lined up if you go ahead and peg the arms in before you put this up. Rotate the arms forward, just like that. And then on the feet, right here, pull them up. Now, some people were just flipping them down like this, and that gives him very, very good backward stability. But this hinge actually here, you lift it up a little bit, bring that hinge all the way down, and that gives him normal-looking feet here at the bottom of his leg. And same over here. And then you're done with the legs. And then we'll come up to the top here. Go ahead and pull, actually lift this back down. This assembly right up here comes down on this hinge like that, and then this plops up there just like that on his back. And you've got him in robot mode. He does have this removable mask. We'll go ahead and pop him off just to show you his plain robot mode. And there's his standard face there. The legs are just the legs. You can see that cockpit now becomes his chest. And there he is in robot mode. He's got some decent posability. Like he's got up and down. It's not a ball joint, but he's got a swivel here and a swivel here on his head. So he's got a pretty decent range of motion there on his neck. His arms, shoulders, universal shoulders. He does have a bicep swivel, ratcheting elbows. No wrist swivel, unfortunately. That's all one piece. Ratcheting hips in both directions. Swivel there. Ratcheting knees, and then you've got a little bit of posability in the ankles. No tilt, unfortunately. So he does kind of tend to stand. His feet are slightly angled. So he does stand a little wide-legged, but not. It's a subtle. It's not a huge angle there, so it's not a huge deal. It doesn't look unnatural, making him stand like that. So yeah, now complaints about this mode with the armor off. He's got hollow forearms, and like on the legs, like up here in the upper thighs, I kind of get it. I'm not a huge fan of the hollowness, but like that doesn't bother me really. The fact that like they made removable armor and then underneath it on the arms made it this hollow, that's disappointing. I don't know why they didn't. I don't know why they did that. It's unsightly, and I'm not a big fan of it. With the armor on, you don't notice it, and it's not a big deal. But I don't know why they'd make it so you could pull all his armor off, but then expose this. You know, when you pull the armor off his legs, there's a peg hole, but there's still, you know, some nice detail around there. The arm is just, here's the empty hollow forearm. That's a little disappointing. So yeah, those are really my main issues. Also, like if you look at him from the top, he's kind of a little hollow up here in the shoulders. And that's just something that's going to be, that's because that's where the hip pieces from the leg that fill in the sides of his abdomen here plug in robot mode, or in jet mode. Now the armor you can just reattach like this. The bigger pieces, the wheel comes through there on the leg. Just like that, easy peasy. The arm armor plugs into the forearm, which again, once that's on, it covers that gap, and you don't really notice it. You can kind of see it if you're looking between it, but it's not a it's not a deal breaker or anything. He holds his pistol just fine. And then his mask, if you're not using his mask in robot mode, it can store on, there's a couple little grooves here on the gun, and it stores right on there. You just take this open part of the top, clip it right on there. Now it looks like he's wearing his face mask on his gun. There's the firing missile. But it does store on the gun for whatever silly reason. If you want to store it, there it is. The missile, it does come with a firing missile on the gun. It doesn't fire with any real power, but it is spring-loaded and fires. Otherwise, the mask just kind of clips on over his face. Let me bring it up here. But yeah, that's not all the way clipped on. You just take it, and you can see it just kind of fits in right over his face and snaps into place. It's kind of a soft, it's not rubbery, but it's a softer plastic, so it has a little bit of give to it, so it can bend over and snap onto his face. And then the thruster pack, now in jet mode, this is what's kind of cool. It comes packaged, and in the jet mode position, it's like this. And you can fold that up between there. And that's the way it comes packaged. That's honestly kind of the way I prefer it in robot mode, because it gives him the extra thrusters up here on his back, and you can see the red, and it looks cool. But it doesn't stick up too high. Like when you flip it around the other way, I just feel like it makes him too tall. A silhouette, and I think that clearly has some stuff on his back without overdoing it. You can switch it around, and I think the instructions even show swapping around. Now, the instructions show you pop all the armor off and put it back on. What's neat is there's actually a swivel in this piece, so if you bring this down, you don't have to unclip it and keep popping it off to transform it. If you leave the armor on during transformation, you can actually rotate this around. It ratchets around and then stays up like this, and then you just fold this back up behind it. Now, and I'll back up a little bit to show you the height of this. Come on, stand straight. There we go. And like, it's neat. It's evocative of Jetfire with the thrusters on his back. I just feel like with them being so close together, it looks weird sticking up that far up off his back. Like if they had it so the thruster pack sat down a little lower. Like, let me get this out of the way. Like, if they had engineered it so this sat, maybe about right here, like, I would be totally down with that. That wouldn't bug me so much. Like, when it sits all the way up here, I like it better flipped around the way it comes in packaged. That's personal preference. It's entirely up to you. I just wanted to show you that option because I do think I prefer it. A subtler jetpack on his back than the tall spires he's carrying around otherwise. That's entirely up to you. Again, like I said, that's just my personal take on it. And here he is with his Henkei self in robot mode. You can see he's significantly larger. Heft-wise, they have about the same heft because he's a little lighter and a little bit more hollow than the classics, but definitely larger figure size-wise than his classic self. And just real quick for a more recent figure, here he is with Evasion Mode Optimus, since I had him with me, just to give you an idea of how much larger he is than today's Voyager. So he doesn't have the electronics that leaders generally have, or had for a while, but just dropping everything today. But he's not bad. He's a good size, he's big, he's clearly Jetfire, which is really the biggest criteria. So you've got a couple of options in how to display him, both in armored mode, unarmored mode, however you want, with the thrusters positioned, however you wish. And all in all, it's a decent figure. It's worth picking up. It's nice to have a Leader Generations figure. It's the first Generations Leader we've had in a while, and it's a fitting figure. Like there's a Megatron coming next year, and that's all that I know has been announced so far. But this Jetfire is actually really nice. I don't know if I'd go nuts trying to get it early, but I think he's starting to show up in certain places. So keep your eye out, because picking him up at retail, I think he's worth it. He's a nice big, he's a satisfyingly large figure, and it's a nice model for Jetfire. I do question some of the choices. Like I said, I'd love to see a version of this without the chrome, just with red armor and with the black, like the red back here, but with the black painted guns like we saw on the original. But all in all, and like I said, I prefer the thrusters pointing the way they are now, the way he comes packaged. But it's entirely up to you. I love the animated-esque looking visor. It matches the way he's showing up in the comics now, although that's not really a surprise given that they seem to have been working a little closer together with some of these characters and designs since Dark Cybertron, and possibly even Metroplex. So yeah, he's showing up in the comics now in this body, and I like it. It's a nice Jetfire-esque body. So definitely worth picking up Leader Class Generations Jetfire.